Today on Tanaka Homestead, I want to talk to you about bolting, specifically with my lettuce, and what it means and what to expect. Here's my red romaine, looking good, nothing out of the norm. Then I have some other romaine, but wait a minute. What is this? This is lettuce that has started to bolt. Okay, and what is bolting? Well, bolting pretty much is when the plant grows a pretty large stalk, which you can see here. Okay, you see that? And you follow it up, and you can actually see the start of some flowers there. But inevitably, this lettuce plant is trying to go to seed. Why does it do that? Well, it's stressed in some form or fashion. That could be water related, heat related, but the biggest contributor to this is the daylight. So as the length of the day increases and there's more daylight, this is bound to happen. It's kind of tough living in Florida, because lettuce really is a cool season crop. The problem is, for those of you that live in Florida, you can have 3 days of really cold weather, 4 days at 85 degrees. I mean, it's tough. It's tough, because of the fluctuating temperature, which can also cause stress on your plant. But it's not like in Florida, there's a legitimate cool season. I mean, we call fall into, March, April, our cool season. It's just not consistent. So this isn't a big deal, if it's towards the end of the season and you want to harvest seeds. It becomes a problem though if you're planting, your lettuce and they all start to bolt early on, because then what does that leave you? And the reason I say that is if you try to eat this, it's going to taste terrible. I mean, when it starts to do this, it releases a chemical or creates a chemical, and that chemical wards pests off and so forth. But that chemical is very bitter, and the leaves are tough. And it's really kind of neat because it's a defense mechanism. But when it gets like this, you don't want to eat it because it can taste yucky. Once your lettuce starts bolting, there's nothing you can do to reverse the process. You can leave it in the ground, let it go to seed, and then harvest those seeds so that you can use it in the future. That's what I usually do. Now, if I have too many of them bolting, which I try to avoid, but sometimes you just can't avoid it, I will uproot them and I'll give them to my chickens. They love that. Or like I said, you yourself can eat the lettuce. It just might be tough and it may taste bitter, but that's completely up to you. It's not going to hurt you. There are some things you can do to prevent this from happening. The first thing is make sure to plant early in the season. I will be honest, I planted later in the season compared to what I usually do. So here we are. But inevitably, this is going to happen if the lettuce stays in the ground long enough. And how could that happen? I mean, you could do everything right, but if you have a whole bunch of lettuce that you've planted at the same exact time, and they're all ready to be eaten at the same exact time, you're probably not going to be able to use it all at that time that it needs to be used. And eventually it will bolt and it will go to seed. So you can plant maybe 2 or 3 weeks apart. This way you kind of have a continual harvest and you don't have to worry about the lettuce being in the ground too long and ultimately bolting. The other thing you can do is plant lettuce with a companion plant that's larger that can offer some shade, like tomato plants. That's, another consideration. And finally, you can plant lettuce in an area that gets morning sun and afternoon shade. This way it decreases the likelihood of heat exposure causing the bolting. Hopefully this information was helpful. For those of you that are new to gardening, these things are bound to happen, and it doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. In fact, the lettuce is doing everything right. This is what they would do to survive ultimately. So not a big deal, but thank you so much for watching my channel. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Give me a like and make sure to share. Happy gardening. Bye-bye.